Oops.
Well, hello, everyone. This is so exciting that we can gather again together in celebration. Today is January 27th, 2022, and we have this occasion of our new publication, Bay Area Women Artists Legacy Project, the 70s, which has been an amazing, amazing contribution to the historical study and record of a period that was really very, very important. And we were so fortunate to have Maria Porges write a fabulous essay for us. And everyone did so much work in gathering documentation of artwork from that period, writing about their involvements and developments and thoughts, bringing out old photographs, showing us work from that period, and cooperating with that long process, which of course would have gotten us nowhere had it not been for Elizabeth Havison and Carol Benioff, who then took it all and did magic with it. So thank you all, because it's been really a fantastic, fantastic journey. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, no, go ahead.
I was just going to thank you officially for snagging me in the parking lot of Layla's and saying, you know, we can't just let this idea die. What happened to your layouts? And I said, well, they're somewhere sitting in a drawer. And we revisited it. And that was that, because Jan just, you know, had the vision and the energy to get it done. And so
I hate to see good ideas go to waste. And even if they're not my good ideas, even if they're someone else's, and I think that's a great lesson, is to look and see what others are doing and how we can apply them in other situations and circumstances, because we're not in the position of having to reinvent the wheel all the time over and over again. And there are so many tools available to us so that we can really, really make a difference in terms of how all of this is remembered and looked at and understood in time to come. Because I'm sure all of you have had this experience for some reason in the 60s and the 70s, even the 80s. We had this idea that if we printed announcements, flyers, even catalogs, we didn't need to have a date on anything. So we are, many of us, confronted, even those who were very conscientious with collecting every announcement from every exhibition and every bit of piece, that there are no dates. Right. And so it's really incumbent upon us, while we can still remember, we're still here, to try and get some order on that, because it is actually a period of time that has this confusion of timeline throughout the entire art world, actually.
Yeah. I have every announcement of every show I've ever been in.
Yes. And I have the year.
What good does it do?
Exactly. Yeah. So these are all things that I think are hard to look at, because when we're in the moment, it's very easy to think that this is going to be understood and remembered by everyone forever. And that just isn't the case. That really isn't the case. And here comes our other heroine, Carol, is joining us. Carol.
Hey, Carol, thank you.
Thank you, Carol, for the fabulous, fabulous job that you did with this book and the other book also.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you both, for all three of you, for all the work you did. This is a major undertaking.
Yeah.
And I would love to put together a group email of all of us to thank Maria specifically for a great essay. I don't know if anybody's done that. I'm sure they have, but I think as a group would be really neat to do some personal something. I'll do it. I mean, if you send it to me, I'll cut and paste whatever.
There was an email, a thank you email sent to her, and she was invited to the celebration as well.
Oh,
I
okay.
just
So
haven't
never mind.
I just haven't heard from her. I imagine that she's really, really busy during this period. As you might know, not only does she teach, but she has two daughters, twins who are college students, and COVID has just turned everyone's life upside down who's been studying in one institution or another with, back in class, back at home, back in class. And so I'm sure she's just overwhelmed right now with the situation. This is actually our second book that came together during the pandemic. And I think that everyone should be lauded for that as well. And it just goes to show that that these technologies that we have make it really possible for us to do things that otherwise would have been almost unimaginable
Yeah.
Right.
10, 15, 20 years ago. If you talk to young artists and they'll say, well, why are all these announcements and exhibition announcements in black and white? And they have no conception of the cost of color printing back then. And what printing and the cost of slide duplication and all of those things had as an impact for artists, and really a great limitation. And we're so fortunate to be able to do this at this point in time. Hi, Curtis.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Thank you. I
So,
saw you in print.
so one of the things that we did when we gathered last time was we sort of went around from one to the other, and maybe we could do a little catch up of just what each one has been doing in this past year.
Why don't you start?
Well, I'd rather come in at the end. Maybe. I'm going to go across my screen, and I'm going to start with you, Lulu, because you're the first one who entered into the meeting.
Well, I spent 2 months at the Elaine de Kooning studio house in the Hamptons. Yeah, I never want to go to the Hamptons again. It's a hideout for rich people, so they don't have to deal with the rest of us. Anyway, I had a delicious studio, and I painted every single day that 6, 8, 10, 15-hour days. And I'll just say this quick. I met with the deepest, darkest side of the art world, and I got a real education. I can tell you about it later.
Yeah.
So I'm back, and I'm very happy to be back in my studio. And just about 10 minutes ago, the backup beeper stopped. They're doing a huge construction next door, so I can hear you.
Great, great. Well, Elizabeth, you were next popping in, so.
I just took a couple of
Here we might-
screenshots for us. Wow, a lot of things. I pivoted to curating during the pandemic and doing my own art, but pivoted out of teaching in person and into curating, mostly through NCWCA. And so everything I've been doing in terms of like large projects have been during this time, even though we were very hopeful from time to time, and there was sort of an up and down to everything. One of the shows I had earlier last year, we actually had an opening in Livermore where like 250 people showed up,
Oh.
And then we shut down again. And I've been involved in several shows, Pandemania days. It's really hard for me to recall everything, but I have 2 big projects coming up. One is a show that will be both at Abrams Claghorn Gallery and at Laney College Gallery about water. And it'll be both a curatorial and juried show with a collaborative installation. And then Arc Gallery invited me on behalf of NCWCA to curate for 2 months this summer, and it's called The Wild Side. And all of you will be invited to express your wild sides with me, and I hope I can include all of you in that show. And my work is currently being put up. thanks to a recommendation from Rebecca and another person I know at Nito SF in large format. And so they took about 18 to 20 of my works, and it's very exciting.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
It's so great. I love hearing all this activity, despite, what feels like a shutdown and such uneven terrain and not knowing what's going to happen tomorrow. It's great that you're undertaking all these wonderful projects. And Jean, how have you been?
I've spent the past year, I broke my back in January,
Right.
and I've spent the past year with a journey within my body and a journey within my mind. And I'm learning to work sitting and laying down. I think of also Frida Kahlo, how she had like a thing over her bed. I mean, I'm becoming more mobile, but it's been extremely challenging. And something like having old things to look at, like my old materials, and just keeping in touch with, right now it's keeping in touch with my verb and my muse. And it hasn't gone away. It's just I haven't been very physically active. And so it's been a real journey of the mind. And it's very challenging. So I found that fear should be your ally. And so fear for a certain way should be also your companion. And that's what I'm trying to live through. So I have some great ideas. I just can't physically do them right now. So look at your blessings. Every day's a gift.
Well, all the more strength to you
Thank you.
in your with what seems like a very challenging journey, but
It is.
also a huge part of life. I mean, this is just like getting old for all of us. It's just a lot of life that we hadn't seen beforehand and that we're now coming to know very intimately. And it's all part of the everything of it. So all the best to you with your recovery.
Thank you.
So Rebecca. You're muted.
I just was in the studio a lot and produced a couple of bodies of work focusing on
I have to close the window when I get to my turn.
Leah, you might want to mute yourself. I think
I will.
sounds are
Sorry.
coming in from there.
I have to figure out how to do it. But...
Thank you. So I'm sorry, Rebecca.
So I did a body of work focusing on tree roots, and then another body of work focusing on soil microbiome, which I'm not done with yet. And we did open studios on the Hunters Point shipyard in San Francisco in person in the fall, and it was packed with people. We had more people come than we'd seen in years. And we were all just kind of shocked. We had no idea. And people were excited and they were buying. It was quite something. And then we did a holiday show and it was the same thing. Usually holiday show is very sparsely attended. I never sell anything. I sold more during the holiday show than I did in the fall open studios. It was as busy as an open studio. It was amazing. So people want to go out. People want art. There's just this hunger and this excitement that none of us knew was out there until we opened our doors. It was quite surprising.
Yeah, that's amazing to hear that that people are actually acting upon that, considering everything that's going on, and that in weighing the importance of it, they're making that decision. That's very interesting. Yeah.
There was a lot of fresh, the energy was really fresh.
Great. Right.
Surprising.
That's how have you been?
Well, I've been painting, and right now I've recently been, this exhibit opened at the ARC Gallery called Dollhouse, Art as Serious Play. And so, that's why my bunny is behind me, because they asked to show this bunny work, which is of course 20 years old at this point. And so I'm getting ready for another Zoom with them. And so I put up this bunny behind me. I found during this past year, I've been speaking about aging, specifically involved with friends who had to move unexpectedly and couldn't find, rental here, or people who were having so many emergencies, they decided to move into care homes. And I mean, these are really close friends. So it's been very much a part of my life. I mean, I have a house in Berkeley and I plan to stay here, but it just brought very present to me what happens at, I'm 82 at this stage in life, that there are decisions that need to be made. And many times we don't even begin to think of these until there's some kind of an emergency or, you have to make a change. And sometimes at that point, it's too late. So going through this with friends has been really moving to me. And I just try to spend as much time as I can in my studio and my garden. Of course, it's wintertime now, so.
Yeah. I think one concept that really is difficult because it changes so drastically at this stage in our life is the concept of future. And the things that we used to think of as like, oh, that's for the future. I will think of it about the future. The future extends without limitation. All those kinds of things come into question when one reaches this age where we've sort of reached our future. And there are limitations that are very real, limitations to many aspects of our lives. So
excuse me, I just want to say there is another chapter.
Yes.
And being disabled for a year, believe me, it's exciting to me. It's really about attitude. And yeah, so it goes
Well,
on.
I get that. You sound so positive, and I'm
I
very.
am. I mean, there's no other place to go. I love working with my hands, and I'm just discovering things about me, and I don't want to,
It's such a lesson for everybody to hear that.
Thank you.
That it's there and possible.
Yeah. Pamela, how have you been?
Hi, Jan. Thank you. Pretty well. It's hard to believe that I've been here. I feel like I've been away somewhere for 2 years. And when I came out, everybody was new, all of the workers at stores and so on. But let's see, I've spent some time in the studio, but also gotten involved with 2 organizations. I've been working with Gallery Route 1 for about 5 years and worked my way up to VP. And that's been very rewarding. I've also been involved with curated one of their extraction shows, and that's been very difficult, very hard work. Let's see, what else? Oh, and for Gallery Route 1, I have a project which I find really exciting called the Artists Exchange, and it's once a month. It's a video program. And it's on their website, the Gallery Route 1 website. And what I get to do is pair 2 artists to show their work and to talk about the work. So we try to find people that are somewhat simpatico, but yet have different things. And the last time was Vicky Joe and Daniel, whose last name is escaping me. And this next week, this next month is going to be a guy named Neo Serafimidis, who I think is a gallery mate of yours, Curtis, at Mercury 20.
Yeah.
And Marna Clark. If any of you know Marna Clark, I bring her up especially because Marna's in her mid-80s. Her husband is in his early 90s. And the body of her photographs now are about aging, and a lot of them nudes, loving nudes of her and her husband and others. And so what has happened looking at these 2 bodies of work is Neo's work is distant. It's outside, looking inside to people's windows. And and Marna's is very close up. So that puts me in the same league as Jean. It's very optimistic.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. How are you, Linda?
Fine.
Tell us a little bit about how you've been spending this past year.
What you were talking about, the future and, you know, how much we don't have. I find myself going, oh, I don't know if I'll ever get to Europe again, or gee,
Oh.
maybe I'll never be able to do this or that. So that's sort of new to have that come up. Let's see, I've, like Pamela, have been involved in Gallery Route 1. I mean, I was a member like 5 years ago for about 4 years. But part of the, let's see, this big program called Codex, or Codex created this worldwide, you know, art activities all over the world about the environment. And our local weed put together 2 shows, one at GRO and one at the Peninsula Museum of Art. And they were both juried by different people. I guess, Pamela, you were one of the jurors. So I was lucky enough to get in both of those shows, which were really very interesting and, you know, really good work and informative. And the other show I was in is through Eco Art Space. So some of you may know Trisha Watts, who was a curator, and she lives in New Mexico now. And so she was, this program they had was called Embodied Forest. And it was juried by a woman in Brazil, a curator. And it was open to everybody who was a member of Eco Art Space, and they have 600 members. So it's really becoming a big organization. It's very, you know, lots of really good programs. So this is the book that they, I mean, the show was online, but they printed this big book, and it's just great. So everybody has a statement and on a separate page, and they've sort of, but it's all about trees, and that's sort of what I'm doing with the redwood trees. So I was happy to get in that. And then the other thing that's going on now is at GRO is their annual jury show. And it was it's Northern California, and it was juried by Jack Fisher. So he juried in 2 of my pieces, and I even got an award. So that was very
Nice.
I was happy with that, because other times he hasn't picked my pieces in shows. So I was pleasantly surprised. So yeah, and that's, you know, trying to cope and, you know, hope we don't have more fires and get my evacuation kit, keep it up and together. So that's it.
You're really in there.
Sounds great. Sounds wonderful. Well, congratulations on all that good work.
Thank you.
And Carol, you've been through so much this year. How are you doing? You're muted, Carol.
This should work now.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
I was asking Carol, Danielle.
Oh,
Sorry. Oh, we're just going in the order that people entered in, because that's the way it's displayed on my screen. I'll ask you to.
Change your name, Carol.
Okay, that's okay. Let's see. A lot of this year was taken up with my mother, because she died in July, and she needed a lot of care prior to her death. So my sister and I did a lot. And then after she died, there was clearing out her condominium and selling it, which we've done. So that took up a fair amount of bandwidth. Had a hip replacement.
Oh my.
And also, well, I had put together the end of last year a catalog just of all my etchings, and I mailed that out this year and got some letters back and some emails back. Nobody took any work, which was disappointing, but at least there was some, you know, nice commentary. And I've been working in my studio a lot. I finished a book on my partner Heinz. It's both poetry and etching. Trying to get John Demerit to bind it for me as opposed to me binding it. I mean, I can do it, but he'll do a better job. And they've done a lot of series on really what it's like to be in this confined space of not being able to be near people. And the psychological impact of that. And applied for some grants, and we'll see what happens with that. And working in the garden.
Yeah.
And designing books.
And designing books, yeah. And then, I did do a little bit of traveling when things opened up. I went to New York to see the Goya show and the Alice Neal show, and I've forgotten what else, and went to Los Angeles over the holidays. So, but that's been about it on traveling.
That's an awful lot in a year to cope with one's own medical needs, and then the loss of your mother. That's amazing. And then to do all of the work that you've done. Also, this brings to mind the fact that you were able to help with realizing the work of someone else's legacy. And I think that this is something that I would urge everyone to do, to have someone with whom you share intimate knowledge about your work, so that there's someone to pick up that that thread, that interest, that commitment, and to help realize finished projects if you're in the midst of something, or just bring things together. That's really important. And it's wonderful that you were able to do that for your partner, and hopefully the others in this group will also find someone, a friend, another artist, a partner, to be able to have a connection to the work so that it has a continued voice, and that can make quite a difference. So Curtis, tell us a little bit about your year.
Well, I basically haven't stopped working since this whole pandemic started. I just feel it's a safe place because I'm the only person in my studio. So I just keep going there on a very regular basis and producing things. And I'm right now working on a show at Mercury 20, a solo show in June. And I've got about 7 pieces finished for that already. They're more kinetic pieces, and a new kinetic design that I've developed, and I'm doing these in that design. And also I connected with an art consultant that I know you know, Jen Casey from Sausalito. And I have a solo show in the lobby of a building near the Chase Center. It's at 500 Terry Francoise. And I've got 7 artworks. Now, these are all 2-dimensional because that's how they don't hang anything 3-dimensional there. So they're all big mixed media works on panels. So that's really fun. To have that, and hopefully I'll get to do some more things with Jan Casey in the future. I'm also have an assistant now, which is fabulous, and he and I are working on archiving my artwork. So I've made about 1,000 works. So it's what you might call a long-term project. But it's great because we're putting thumbnails of every artwork, and we started with a kinetic work, and it's on an Excel spreadsheet, and it has, I don't know, a whole bunch of different fields, and one of them is video. So I'm adding a lot of my kinetic videos into it. And I'm also, I put in an application to be part of the Bioneers Conference at California Fine Arts for this spring. So I don't know if that's going to happen. Have a big kinetic piece there. So we'll see about that. And the other thing I'm doing, which is kind of like a shot in the dark, is looking into NFTs.
Oh God, yeah.
Actually, my assistant is quite young, and so he's quite interested in this. I, however, don't understand hardly anything about it, but he gets it. So we posted one of my artworks, and we'll see what happens.
Very exciting, something new and very different. I want to just point to the fact that in 7 minutes, we're going to end this session. And then we'll have a little break and come right back on with the same link, just click right back in, have a little break if anyone needs to take a moment to get a drink or do something and come back. I see Jeannie's got her drink in hand. And so just so you know, but we have time to ask Leah how she's been before we cut out.
Can I ask Mary Curtis one thing?
Yes.
Sure.
Mary Curtis, did you move or what happened with the studio? You had that up for a minute.
No, I haven't moved anywhere.
You stayed.
Do you hear me now?
In the east.
Yes.
I'm in the car.
Yeah,
I went on a walk and I didn't get back in time, so at least I'm able to hear everybody.
We can hear you.
Yeah, plus the noise in the car. But I had cervical spine surgery in May, so less than a year ago. It's been a crazy long-term figuring out what to do about it. I still have certain symptoms, but I'm not in pain, which is, I'm trying to look at the positive things. I'm numb, lots of parts of my body, but I'm not in pain. So let's see. There are a lot of things happening. I have Georgianne, who comes and works for me 1 day a week. She's coming about 6 hours now, and she helps me with some of my weaving. So I'm working on my plant images from the garden. So that's, I don't know.
Oh yeah, I noticed.
Any of that. So that's what I'm working on now. Got rid of the neural brain stuff, and and also bringing some things back in from pieces from the 70s. So some of the same imaging that I was using, optical imaging in the 70s, I'm now putting in my work now. So, and then there's a number of different exhibitions that I'm in. There's one at Bernice Steinbaum Gallery in Miami, and there's some that are coming up in the future, way in the future. But at least, there's things that are happening. So anyway, that's kind of it. I mean, I've been focusing on the medical stuff, so I understand what you're going through, and I just, but I'm glad that I'm still able to keep doing some work. So.
Well, I'm glad you've got your surgery behind you. I know it's a very long, slow process of healing, recovery, a lot of therapy, but I wish you all the best. And I think it's wonderful, again, to have help with the work so that the work can continue, and the help that's needed sometimes.
I also have someone that helps me with the archives.
Yeah.
I have someone that I've been working with my archives for quite a long time. So she, I work with her, remotely once a month or so, and we update the archives. But I like that suggestion of putting the videos in with the file. Anyway, I'm going to try to do that.
Great, great. So, Carol, let's ask you, and please don't be upset if we get cut off, and you will just come back to you again after. But do you want to tell us a little bit about the year?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. I've continued working on this series I started probably before last year with their memorializing lost children's clothing from Auschwitz, from the Holocaust. That I don't know if I've spoken about that here, but they're hand knitted pieces, and it has to do with a cousin who was a personal tailor to one of the most notorious people at Auschwitz. So it's a family story, and I've got a lot of them now, and it's sort of dealing with the long sentences and making something that honors each year for people that I know that are out now that have done like 45 years or 10 or anyway. So I keep working, but I haven't tried to show the work, which I think is the next step. And the prison was open for live teaching and running the program from July, but now we're shut down again because of Omicron. So it's back to paper lessons. But I have a great show at the San Francisco Opera with when they had Beethoven's Fidelio and the themes of freedom and injustice. And now we're working on getting them more moved over to Alcatraz.
Right.
So it's been great that despite all the trauma with COVID at San Quentin, that we've kept the art program going and writing and music. So things just keep going along. But and I've also I'm dealing with, and I've traveled back east multiple times with my brother who's quite ill, and I'm his only relative, and he has Parkinson's and Parkinson's dementia. And he was in the hospital for 3 months with COVID, even though he's vaccinated. And so it's been bad year in a lot of ways, but things are a little better now, knock wood, we'll just see. And I'll be going out again soon. So just keep on keeping on. Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's been so difficult, so hard.
Well, the book was a nice thing. So.
Well, we're going to do another one. So when we come back, we'll talk to Jeannie and to Kim, and then we'll do a little bit of discussion of the future, because the future is another part of our past. Part of the past will be part of our future. So I want to thank you all for coming for the beginning, and I look forward to seeing you in just a few minutes again. Okay.
Great. Stay on. What do we do?
It's going to shut us off. It's going to end.
Okay.
You just click back in.